Welcome to KeethTalks episode 3. In this episode, I have a very special guest. Her name is January, and she is a transaction coordinator. She will be talking about a day in the life of a transaction coordinator and what they do. So hopefully you guys get a lot of value from this episode. Enjoy. Hey, January. Thank you so much for joining my podcast today. I really do appreciate it. And the fact that you even took time to spend with me, really happy about that. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Awesome. So I know that you're a transaction coordinator. So why don't you just tell me, how you even got into that?
Oh boy, I had to wade through a whole lot of shiny object syndrome first
Yeah.
to find my way to Pace Morby.
Mhm.
And then once I joined Sub 2, everybody said, hey, get on the avatar Zoom and find out your avatar. And I'm like, okay, was that the blue people or what? Are they
Yeah.
water benders?
Yeah.
So then I went on, I watched the avatar video and I was like, wow, okay, yeah. TC really speaks to me. Transaction coordinator, I can do this. I've been coordinating a whole crew. I've got 6 kids and my husband
Oh.
and so we work
Yeah.
together to coordinate the whole crew and family. And so it really was right up my alley. And I also took Pace's, advice. He said, choose one, one avatar.
Yeah.
Because it's so simple to see yourself in so many of those different avatars.
Mhm.
But you choose one avatar, you focus on that for 6 months, and go make 50 friends in the Facebook group. And that was what I did, and
Yeah.
it worked. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So now, when Pace introduced us to this whole new system of, hey, start creating a presence, I was like, oh boy. But I'm gonna do it.
Right. Yeah.
I do my homework. So it's exciting though. And I get to meet people like you.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. So I had a couple questions because I know like transaction coordinators, they're so important in every real estate transaction, like, in the States. So like, what are some of the toughest parts about it? Because I know like you want to get the paperwork right? And it can be scary when you don't. But how do you be proactive? Because like, I'm always thinking, oh man, like I'm not really sure what to do when I have a deal in front of me, like aside from the purchase and sales agreement. Like, how do you know how to be proactive, for certain types of deals?
Communication is really key, especially in the transaction coordination realm. So I open up communication first with you, my client, who hires me to be your TC. But from that point, I also ask you to introduce me to your seller that you just got on contract, so that I can start telling them, hey, this is kind of the process. And then I take the contract and I take it over to escrow because I've got a group of title companies and I'm building my list of title companies throughout the states. So I'm able to have all these title companies ready to go. So I take your contract to the title company and I communicate with the title company. Hey, how long is this going to take? How long is this going to cost? How much is it going to cost?
Yeah.
And so, and then if this is a buy and hold, great. That's kind of where, my communication is in that bubble. But if you're going to wholesale it, then I have you introduce me to your end buyer because I wrap them into this too. And because title needs things from the end buyer as well. And so I just start collecting information with communication from everybody at all points. And that's how I'm very proactive. I ask a lot of questions. What kind of deal is this? What is your exit strategy? What do you, where are you going with this? What are some of your negotiation points? Help me understand this. And then from that point, as things progress, especially through title company, I read through that title report. So as soon as I can get that title report, and that's another thing of how long is your inspection period or option period for some states?
Yeah.
How long have you given yourself time? Because I know in some of our sub 2 contracts, we do have a statement in there that says, especially the creative contract, it says if title comes back and there's something in there and the seller doesn't want to fix it, then the buyer has the option to cancel the contract. But if I believe if the cash contract doesn't necessarily say it that way. So it's like, how
Oh.
long is that title report going to take to come back? Is that going to be in the inspection period? And so, once that title report comes back, I keep track of those dates that, okay, the option period, inspection period is expiring soon. I've got to get this read and get the information to you.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's just like, hey, it's all clear. It's good.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
hopefully, but
Yeah.
I've had some title company or title reports come back, and it's like, oh, there's an extra 40,000 in other liens. That did the seller tell you about that? Or there's an extra 150,000 in liens.
Leads.
Did you know about? Was that part of your negotiation? Did you? And a lot of times my client is like, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
And then I go and I talk to the seller, and sometimes they're surprised. They're like, what do you mean? I didn't know there were liens on the property. And so I and the title company work to help the seller understand how they need to clear those in order to close. Or if it's just an insurmountable obstacle, then the client, you as the client, can cancel in enough time within that inspection period that you don't lose your escrow deposit.
Okay.
And so I keep track of those dates for that purpose, to make sure, you don't lose escrow. Your escrow money doesn't go hard before you really have a chance to say, oh, title is a mess. No, let's not do this.
So what if
Go ahead.
so let's say like the an option period was like 7 days, right? But then title comes back after that. Do you lose your EMD deposit?
Well, it does depend on your contract.
Okay.
And like I said, the creative contract has a
Clause.
paragraph in there. It does have a clause that says when title comes back, if the seller is not willing to clear those liens, then the buyer has the option to just cancel the contract and not lose EMD.
Okay,
So.
that's one of my biggest fears, losing the EMD and something happens. I'm like, oh my god, right?
Right, exactly.
How about, and this is like, typical in a situation where you're, buying and holding, right? Or for long-term rentals. But what if you're turning around and selling it like for a wrap, right? Because in that situation, it's a little bit different, right? Let's say like, because I had a couple of questions because I do wraps. So then let's say you buy a property, right? And then you turn around and you sell it. Now you're making the difference between the interest rates, but you get a due on sale clause. Then how do you, like, you know what I mean? Because I'm not the owner of the property anymore. So how do I combat that?
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, I know it's a tough one.
I know that's a complicated question, but each mortgage company has their own process. And so they're going to send a written notice that says, hey, we noticed there was a material change in ownership. There's like this deed transferred. So we want to have we're going to call the note due. We're going to trigger that due on sale clause. And really, communication is once again that important part. So you were kind of in the middle of this wrap deal. And so you would, because you still are kind of the seller financer on the portion to them, and you're still on that sub 2 side for your original seller, you would be the one to reach out to the mortgage company and say, how can we make this right? I've been paying the mortgage on time every month for, and you've built your track record with them. So you, as a good payer of that mortgage, can go to them and say, well, I know you're not in the business of taking over and foreclosing on homes. What part of us paying that monthly mortgage on time every time is the problem here? What can we do? What other paperwork? And usually the mortgage company will tell you, oh, well, you should deed it back into the original owner's name, and then do, like a contract for deed, or, something executory contract. Sometimes that's the way to do it. Or
Okay.
sometimes they'll say, go ahead and put it in a land contract. The mortgage company will tell you what they want.
Okay.
And so it's really just, you still definitely have to have some kind of a relationship with that seller, a good relationship with them, so that if there needs to be a time, and I know there's a lot of people that say, well, just get that performance deed or executory contract actually done at the first closing with that seller, and you just have that in your hip pocket. And we in the TC world are kind of like, well, okay, we can see if that'll work.
Okay.
Maybe they'll take that, maybe they won't, because sometimes it's like, okay, that was dated back in 2019 and it's 2025, and now you're wanting to file this deed. So you see, there might be pushback on some of those, executory contracts that are held in a long-term escrow situation thing. So sometimes that, it can be, you can do it and have that in your hip pocket. But if the mortgage company says, no, we're not going to take that one, you just have to find out what they will do.
So
how can we fix this?
So what about like I've heard this might be a possibility, but I don't know if it is. But what about like a power of attorney, right? But a POA to be able to sign an executory contract on the seller's behalf. Is that a thing? Is that doable, or is that kind of like going into a gray area where you really shouldn't be?
Ooh.
I know.
That's a good question, because I
Yeah.
haven't heard that one asked before. We already get you a power of attorney in
For
your
the
sub-2
sub.
closing. Yes. And so you already have power of attorney over that mortgage anyways. So having you going back through and signing another deed in their name, I don't know. That may be gray,
Area.
right
Yeah.
area right there.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So that's a good question. I think I'm going to write that down and take that one to the TC team and see, hey,
Thank you.
what about this?
Yeah, right. It's pretty interesting when you think about it, because I feel like there's always a way to kind of be protected so that I can do less work in the future. I'm always trying to think like that.
Yeah.
Think like that, right? Yeah.
But remember what Pace says. It's like, how many sub-2 deals has he actually physically done? And then how many have gotten called?
Like
He's
3
like,
or something. Yeah.
right.
Out of
As long as
1100.
you're paying on time and you don't cancel the insurance. Insurance is important to the mortgage company. So
Yeah.
don't cancel the insurance. Get that done right too.
I actually didn't know that. So if you cancel the insurance, it probably called the note due then. Am I right?
It's possible. It'll definitely, the mortgage company gets alerted when the insurance is canceled. So because if the homeowner stops paying for their insurance, the mortgage company will force an insurance policy on that home. So in order for for them to be protected with that debt.
Okay.
So, and usually if your standard homeowner's insurance is less than $200 a month, a forced insurance policy could be like over $1,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
They just go with whatever. They're like, I don't know what, they're going to pay for it. So just give us whatever you got. And I mean, I'm sure insurance companies, wait, this is a forced policy?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. My commission is going to be so good on this one. So, but the insurance is very important, because that will send a red flag to the mortgage company. So having that transition of insurance is really important. Getting the right names on that insurance policy is also really important.
Nice. That's good to know. I actually never knew that. I was thinking about like shopping around for like cheaper insurance maybe, but no, okay, I realized I could never ever do that. Never touch the insurance on a mortgage. Otherwise I'm just going to cause more problems.
Well, but you also don't want to keep necessarily in place the insurance that the homeowner already has.
Why not?
Well, because, and I wasn't on the Zoom, but Lucas Ramos was on one of the sub-2 Zooms, and he was talking about sub-2 insurance. And he said, when you leave that homeowner's insurance policy in place, you as the investor are actually quite vulnerable.
Really?
And so, yeah, I'm hearing this from some of my clients that actually were on that Zoom and heard what he had to say. So it's in the vault, but you are more vulnerable just leaving the homeowner's insurance in place. What you want to do is get into your own policy that is escrowed through the mortgage company. And then getting the names right on that policy is very important. So who's the lost payee, who's the first mortgagee, who's the primary insured, who's the additional insured. And that's something that Lucas Ramos, who is with sub2insurance.com, and he can help you get all of that set up.
Man, that's really good to know. I gotta get him on a Zoom call to get that recorded for you too as well. Yeah. So tell me about like why you want to get into real estate. Like what made you? 'Cause, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
Like right. That's like the real estate investor's Bible there. I read it though in like 2008. A long time ago. But it was such a busy time in my life. My husband and our family was still growing. My husband was still at full active duty in the Air Force at the time. So we were moving every 2 years, 18 months, 3 years, whatever. We were on the move and our family was growing. We were going through deployments. At the time, it was just like, okay, that book sounds so wonderful. I really want to do what's in that book. But I just don't have the time. Darn it. But actually, we then became accidental landlords because the Air Force moved us one more time. Our last move, we couldn't we couldn't pay anybody to buy our old home that we had in Ohio. And, because we had bought it in 2007. And so we were underwater for a really long time with a VA loan. And we were just like, if somebody would just come along and take over our payments, we would just give them the house and walk away. We had no idea what Sub2 was. But we had that property for rented. Well, it was vacant and on the market for 9 months. And unfortunately, nobody bought it. So we had to transition to renting it. And we rented it out for over 5 years. And the problem was we didn't have a great property management company. So we were kind of losing a little bit of money every year. We were not charging market rents. We were under market. And it's not because the house wasn't great. It's because every time I told the property manager, I'd write them an email. Hey, when can we raise the rents? And they're like, are you sure you want to do that? You might lose these tenants. And I just didn't say that. I don't know. It's like, I don't know if they had fear over, you're going to raise the rents. They're going to move out because they're going to get mad. And then they're going to have more work to do to fill it with new tenants. I don't know if that was their fear. For whatever reason, there was fear. They didn't want to raise the rents. And eventually I got fed up, and I'm like, look, we're selling the house and I'm firing you. And that's kind of what happened. So when we finally got out of that situation, plus another note, it was our personal home. So we didn't have it in an LLC. We felt so vulnerable. We're like, please, nobody fall and break anything. Oh my goodness. We just felt, even though we had insurance, we just knew that insurance just isn't always enough. So we felt vulnerable. When we finally got out from that house, and we said, okay, now let's do this the right way. And we actually started with building our business structure first. And so we were able to get our, LLCs and our companies all lined up. And then pardon me. Then I started looking at, mentorships and programs and things like that. I joined Pace's Elephant Challenge in
Oh, nice.
December. Yeah, in December of 22. And at that point, I finally started to see just a touch of what the sub two community was like.
Yeah.
Um, pardon me. And then once that, after I got through some of that elephant challenge, I just said, okay, it's time. Let's get into this sub two group. And in March of this year, I joined sub two. My husband and I
Nice.
jumped in both feet, and it's been amazing. It's been world changing, life changing, unbelievable. Like, whoa, the difference. I know mentors, could do something for you in your business,
Yeah.
but this was like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, for me, it was like networking on steroids. That's the way I saw it. And
Yeah,
it helps a lot. Just like talking to the right people and learning about their experiences can really uplift you like on a whole different level. Because
right.
there's things that, people do that you didn't even know that you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah, exactly. And then
yeah.
the connections within the Facebook group, the sub two group,
Mhm.
those connections are just really what binds it all together.
Mhm.
Being able to, just like when I first joined sub two, I got on the Facebook group. I'm like, hey, somebody's telling me like, here's this 18-door duplex portfolio, and I have no idea what to do with it. Can
Yeah.
somebody help me? And boom, one of the sub two students said, hey, let's get on a call. And we got on a phone call, and we actually got on the call with the agent that was also selling the portfolio. And the sub two student was Aaron Cadell or
Yeah.
Caudell.
Okay.
And he just kind of took over, and he's like, hey, yeah, what about this? How about and he negotiated, and he was, I mean, I thought like, well, I'm sure while I was on the phone, I was like, you know,
Yeah.
like, I can't believe he's saying these things. Wow, how does he even know this? But it was an amazing experience. Now, the deal didn't happen. That's fine. It was incredible just
Mhm.
knowing that I had like now there's almost 11,000 people in the sub two group.
Mhm.
I've got 11,000 big brothers and big sisters to back me up.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah, for
feels like.
support. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true. That couldn't be more true. I love that. So like it's really interesting to hear like how you got into real estate, right? But I want to know like what are some of your goals? Like as a transaction coordinator, are you like trying? Because I know I've heard of some people who also do other things to try to get a part of the deal, or are you just focusing on being a TC and then doing your own deals later on? Because eventually you want your own deals, right? So how are you thinking
Absolutely.
about that?
Well, honestly, I jumped into TC because that really worked for me.
Hmm.
And I know there's other TCs in the sub two group that they started like TC companies. And I was like,
Really?
no, yeah, I didn't want to, I'm not interested in starting a company. This was
Yeah.
just TC was supposed to be the gateway, like
Yeah.
I can see like all the deals that I come into contact with. And so, yeah, I wanted to just be able to touch a lot of deals.
Hmm.
Um, well, now I am working so many contracts. I am starting to hire help. so, but I'm not really starting a TC company because the goal is the passive income. I'm
Yeah.
going to do TC work for, a year or 2 years, or,
Hmm.
I could do TC for however long I wanted to, but, already TC has given me an opportunity to get into my own, little part of deals. I have not been an equity partner, but there was I had someone, I TC'd their deal, and they brought in another different deal that they had already closed, and they said, hey, my PML fell through. Do you know any PMLs? I'm like, well, tell me about the deal. Maybe I could be your PML.
Yeah.
And And I did. I ended up, my husband and I, we're the PML now on that deal, and things are
Amazing.
going fantastic with that. So
Yeah.
that is kind of a little bit of my goal of being in TC, because someone comes to me and it's like, pardon me, they want to wholesale this deal. Well, maybe I could be your end buyer. I don't know. Or maybe there's somewhere they need to do a double close. I can do double closes. I can
Man,
fund
you're blowing my
double
mind.
closes.
I'm just realizing now you literally have access to all of like the deals. They're coming to you because you're the coordinator. You can just get on them whenever issues come on. That's so smart. That's a really great way of getting deals without having to like call the seller, call an agent.
Right.
Do all that, like, you know what I mean? It's great. I think that's
Yeah.
really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
trust me, in that shiny object time period, I tried the direct to seller, direct to agent,
Yeah.
knocking on free foreclosures, which by the time I got to their door, they were all abandoned and
Oh
wrecked,
man. Yeah.
And so I jumped around from shiny object to shiny object, and TC really hit the spot.
Spot, right?
It is opening up a whole different world of opportunity, that maybe someday I'll say, nope, I'll be your end buyer on this one. I'll be your wholesaler. I'll be
Yeah.
your double closer on this one. I'll be your gator lender on that one. I can do this on that one. So through TC, the whole world is my oyster.
That
So,
is amazing. So let's say someone's watching this video and they want it to be a TC. How do they do it?
well, if they can start with the top tier TC training program
Hmm.
that is actually available outside of sub 2.
Really?
So
Okay.
it is. So people who want to learn TC can go through the top tier TC training program, which it's an amazing program.
How long
It
is it?
it's I don't know. I I went through it on double speed, but
I
but
guess it
there's
depends on the person, right? Like how fast
exactly.
they're willing to work.
Well,
Yeah.
because I had already been doing TC work before
Hmm.
it was released. So I
Okay.
had a lot of familiarity with a lot of like the terminology. They break it down there like, this is your terminology. They have
Hmm.
Zooms on the vocabulary. They have Zooms about just the different types of deals. They have video modules. And so there are 6 or 7 different modules. I think there's 60 something different videos in the
Hmm.
whole program, and they all range in time. Some of them are just introduction to this concept. It's 10 minutes long. And then here's the deep dive into that concept. It's an hour and a half long. So it takes you through, the beginning of the contract,
Hmm.
through the reading the title report, how to handle gator deals, how to help with escrow, how to get that deal closed, and and then loan servicing is an post-closing service
Yeah.
that TCs can also offer, and so it covers a bit of that as well. And
Awesome.
then another aspect of it is how to grow your business. So if
Yeah.
you've never marketed yourself before, they kind of go into how to tell people that you're a TC, how to market yourself, how to, JV with people if you've never done a TC deal before.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks into how to market your business, how to grow your business, how to find clients. So it's a really thorough program.
It's A to Z. Pretty much covers everything from, because a lot of courses they just teach you, okay, this is how you do the work. This is what you need to study. These are the paperwork that you need to know. But they don't really tell you, hey, how to go out there, how to get leads, how to get clients, how to, do this for yourself,
Right.
right? So
That's
that is
that's what I've
key.
seen is such the difference with anything that Pace has kind of started is he
Yeah.
really goes into, this is not just the what you need to know, but this is the how to
Yeah.
apply it and who wants it. So
Yeah. I
he
like how you
really
said
covers his
that.
bases.
Yeah, awesome. So we're running out of time, but thank you so much, January. I'm so glad that, I got this chance to be able to talk to you. So I really appreciate
Yeah.
everything.
Oh man, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem.